Denise's hand came down hard across 7-year-old Zoe's face. The slap echoed through the empty kitchen. "You told your teacher you were hungry. You embarrassed me in front of those people." Denise grabbed Zoe's thin arm, squeezing until the child cried out. "Your mama is dead because of you. You killed her with your neediness, and now you're trying to ruin my life too." She shoved Zoe against the wall. "If you ever open your mouth again, I will make sure your baby brother pays the price. Do you understand me?" Zoe nodded, tears streaming down her brown cheeks. "Yes, Aunt Denise. I'm sorry. I won't tell. I promise I won't tell anyone." But someone was about to ask the right question. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe to our channel and follow Zoe's journey until the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from so we can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let us begin. The final bell rang at Jefferson Elementary School and 200 children rushed toward freedom. Backpacks bounced against small shoulders. Laughter filled the hallways. Parents waited in the pickup line engines, running ready to whisk their children home to warm dinners and safe beds. But in the girls' bathroom at the far end of the first grade wing, 7-year-old Zoe Williams pressed her back against the cold tile wall and prayed nobody would find her. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. Her hands gripped the straps of her worn backpack so tightly that her knuckles ached. She could hear footsteps in the hallway, voices calling out goodbyes, car doors slamming in the distance. And all she could think was, "Please, God, please don't make me go home." The bathroom door creaked open. "Zoe Williams, are you in here?" It was Mrs. Patterson, her first-grade teacher, the one who had noticed that Zoe never ate her lunch anymore, the one who had asked gentle questions that Zoe had answered with lies. Zoe held her breath. "Sweetheart, I know you're in here. I saw you run this way after the bell. Your Aunt Denise is going to be here any minute to pick you up." Zoe's whole body went rigid at the name. "Zoe, please, come out and talk to me." The stall door at the end of the row was closed. Mrs. Patterson walked toward it slowly, her sensible shoes squeaking against the damp floor. "Zoe, I'm not angry with you. I'm worried about you. You've been so quiet lately. You've been falling asleep in class. And today at lunch, I noticed you gave your sandwich to Marcus and told him you weren't hungry. But I saw your face, sweetheart. You were hungry. You were so hungry." Inside the stall, Zoe pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Tears burned in her eyes. "If something is wrong at home," Mrs. Patterson said, her voice dropping lower, softer, "you can tell me. I promise I will help you. I promise I will keep you safe." Zoe wanted to believe her. She wanted to open the door and tell Mrs. Patterson everything, about the hitting, about the locked bedroom door, about the nights without dinner, about baby MJ crying in his crib while Aunt Denise screamed at him to shut up. But Aunt Denise's words echoed in her head. "If you ever tell anyone I will hurt your brother, I will make him pay for your mistakes, and no one will believe you anyway. You're just a lying little girl who makes up stories for attention." "Nothing's wrong," Zoe heard herself say. Her voice came out flat and robotic the way Aunt Denise had taught her. "I'm just having a bad day. I'm sorry for causing trouble. Aunt Denise takes good care of me. She loves me very much." Mrs. Patterson's heart broke at the rehearsed quality of those words. "Zoe, please open the door. Let me see you." "I can't." "Why not?" Silence. "Zoe, why can't you open the door?" "Because you'll see." "See what, sweetheart?" "Nothing. I fell. I'm clumsy. Aunt Denise says I'm the clumsiest child she's ever met." Mrs. Patterson felt ice spread through her chest. She had been a teacher for 23 years. She had seen this before. She knew what those words meant. "Zoe, I'm going to need you to open this door, right now. Can you do that for me?" The lock clicked. The door swung open slowly, and Mrs. Patterson had to grab the sink to steady herself. Zoe stood there in her uniform, a dress that had fit her perfectly in September, but now hung loose on her thin frame. Her beautiful brown skin was marked with bruises, purple ones on her left arm, yellow ones on her right, a fading handprint visible above her elbow where her sleeve had ridden up. There was a cut on her bottom lip, scabbed over healing. And her eyes. Those big brown eyes that used to sparkle with curiosity and joy were hollow now, empty. The eyes of a child who had learned to feel nothing because feeling anything was too dangerous. "Oh, baby," Mrs. Patterson whispered. "I fell," Zoe said quickly. "I fall a lot. I fell down the stairs and I fell in the backyard and I fell—" Zoe. "It's true. Ask Aunt Denise. She'll tell you. I'm clumsy. I'm always hurting myself. She says I need to be more careful, that I worry her so much with all my falling, that if I would just—" "Zoe, stop." The little girl stopped. Mrs. Patterson knelt down so she was at eye level with her student. She wanted to pull Zoe into her arms and never let go. She wanted to find whoever had done this and make them pay. But she knew she had to be careful. She knew she had to do this right. "Who did this to you?" she asked gently. "Nobody. I told you. I fell." "These bruises didn't come from falling, sweetheart. I can see fingerprints. Someone grabbed you. Someone hurt you." Zoe's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back furiously. "I can't," she whispered. "Can't what?" "I can't tell you. She'll know. She always knows. And then she'll hurt MJ. He's just a baby. He can't protect himself. I have to protect him. That's my job now that Mama's gone. I have to be good. I have to be quiet. I have to not make problems." Mrs. Patterson's hands were shaking. "Who will hurt MJ, Zoe? Who are you protecting him from?" The bathroom door opened again and both of them jumped. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, well-dressed in an expensive suit with kind eyes and a concerned expression. Mrs. Patterson recognized him immediately. David Carter. His daughter Amara was in Zoe's class. "I'm sorry," David said. "I heard talking. I heard a child crying. Is everything okay?" Mrs. Patterson stood up quickly, positioning herself between David and Zoe. "Mr. Carter, this is a private matter. I need to ask you to—" "Please." Zoe's voice cut through the teacher's words, small and desperate. "Please don't make me go home." David Carter felt the world tilt beneath his feet. He had been sitting in his Mercedes waiting for his daughter Amara when something nagged at him. A feeling, an instinct, the same instinct that had made him his fortune in real estate by knowing when a deal was wrong, when a building had hidden problems, when something that looked perfect on the surface was rotting underneath. Amara had climbed into the car 15 minutes ago, chattering about her day, her friends, her homework. But David had noticed that one of her classmates hadn't come out. A quiet little girl named Zoe, who Amara talked about sometimes. "She's really good at art," Amara had said once. "But she never talks to anyone, and she gave away her lunch today. I don't think she has food at home, Daddy." David had dismissed it at the time. Lots of kids traded food. It didn't mean anything. But today, something made him tell Amara to wait in the car. Something made him walk into the school. Something made him follow the sound of voices to the girls' bathroom. And now he was looking at a 7-year-old child covered in bruises, begging not to go home. "Mrs. Patterson," David said quietly, "I volunteer with the Children's Advocacy Center downtown. I've been trained to recognize signs of abuse. And I'm looking at a child right now who needs help." Mrs. Patterson's shoulders sagged with relief. She wasn't alone in this. "I know," she said. "I was just trying to find out who's hurting her." "Zoe." David crouched down slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. "My name is David. My daughter Amara is in your class. She talks about you all the time. She says you're the best artist she knows." Zoe looked at him warily. "Amara is nice to me." "She is. And you know what? She's waiting in my car right now because I told her I needed to check on something. I think she would be very sad if she knew her friend was hurt and scared. Zoe's lip trembled. I'm not scared. It's okay to be scared, David said gently. I'm a grown man, and I get scared sometimes. Everyone gets scared. The question is, what do we do when we're scared? Do we try to handle everything alone? Or do we ask for help from people who care about us? A tear slipped down Zoe's cheek. If I ask for help, she'll hurt my brother. David's heart clenched. Who will hurt your brother, Zoe? We need you to tell us so we can protect both of you. Zoe looked at Mrs. Patterson, then at David, then at the floor. Aunt Denise, she whispered. The name hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Your aunt, Mrs. Patterson asked. The woman who picks you up every day? The one who came to parent-teacher conferences? Zoe nodded, still staring at the floor. She lives with us. She moved in after Mama died. She's supposed to take care of me and MJ while Daddy works. But she... Zoe's voice caught. She gets angry. What happens when she gets angry? David asked. She yells. She calls me names. She says I killed Mama, that if I wasn't so needy and difficult, Mama wouldn't have gotten sick. She says I'm a burden. She says I'm ungrateful. She says I don't deserve the food I eat or the bed I sleep in. Mrs. Patterson had to turn away to hide her tears. And the bruises? David pressed gently. Did she do that to you? Zoe nodded. When I'm bad. When I don't clean my room fast enough. When I eat too much. When MJ cries and I can't make him stop. She says she has to teach me discipline. She says Mama was too soft with me. She says I'm spoiled and ungrateful and need to learn my place. Does she hit MJ too? Zoe's face crumpled. I try to stop her. I try to keep him quiet. I try to take care of him so he doesn't bother her. But he's just a baby. He doesn't understand. He cries when he's hungry. He cries when his diaper is wet. And sometimes she gets so angry. Sometimes she shakes him, or puts him in his crib and slams the door, and he screams, and I can't get to him because she locks me in my room, and I can hear him crying, and I can't help him, and... Zoe broke down completely. Sobs shaking her thin shoulders. David pulled out his phone. We need to call her father, right now. Mrs. Patterson nodded. Marcus Williams, he's a tech entrepreneur, works long hours, travels a lot. I've only met him once at the beginning of the year. The Aunt Denise, she handles everything. Do you have his number? In the school records, I'll get it. She hurried out of the bathroom, leaving David alone with Zoe. Zoe, look at me. The little girl raised her tear-stained face. I know you're scared. I know you think no one can help you. But I promise you, on my life, that woman is never going to hurt you again. Do you believe me? Zoe stared at him for a long moment. Aunt Denise said no one would believe me. She said I'm just a lying little girl. She said Daddy would choose her over me because he needs her to take care of us. David felt rage building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Your Aunt Denise was wrong about a lot of things, and she was especially wrong about that. Your daddy loves you more than anything in this world, and when he finds out what's been happening, he's going to move heaven and earth to protect you. How do you know? Because that's what fathers do. Mrs. Patterson returned slightly out of breath, holding a slip of paper. I have the number. Should I call or... Let me. David took the paper. I don't know Marcus Williams personally, but I know of him. We move in some of the same business circles. Maybe he'll take the call more seriously coming from me. He dialed the number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. David tried again. Voicemail. He's probably in a meeting, Mrs. Patterson said. He's always in meetings, according to the aunt. David sent a text. Mr. Williams, this is David Carter. I'm at Jefferson Elementary with your daughter Zoe. There's been an emergency. Please call me immediately. Do not contact your sister-in-law. Then he waited. Zoe had stopped crying. She sat on the cold bathroom floor with her arms wrapped around her knees, making herself as small as possible. She's going to come, Zoe said quietly. Aunt Denise. She always picks me up at 3:30. It's almost 4:00. She's going to be so angry. David checked his watch. The child was right. Mrs. Patterson, can you go to the main office? Tell them Zoe's father is on his way. Tell them not to release her to anyone except him. Not the aunt. Not anyone else. What do I tell them? Tell them the truth. Tell them you have reason to believe this child is being abused at home. Tell them to call the police if the aunt shows up and tries to take her. Mrs. Patterson hurried out again. David's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Who is this? What's wrong with Zoe? Is she hurt? David typed back. She's physically okay, but I need you to come to the school immediately. Room 104. Don't call your sister-in-law. It's about her. The response came instantly. I'm in the middle of a negotiation. Can this wait? David felt his anger spike. He typed, Your daughter is covered in bruises. She was hiding in the bathroom begging not to go home. It cannot wait. Cancel your meeting. Your children need you. 30 seconds of silence. Then I'm on my way. David let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Your daddy's coming, Zoe. He's leaving work right now to come get you. Zoe looked up, and for the first time, a tiny spark of hope flickered in her eyes. He is. But he's always working. Aunt Denise says his work is more important than us. She says he doesn't really love us, he just loves money. She says Mama was the only one who really cared about us. And now Mama's gone, and we're stuck with... Your Aunt Denise says a lot of things, David interrupted gently. But that doesn't make them true. Sometimes the people who hurt us also try to make us believe lies. They try to make us think no one loves us, that we're alone, that we deserve the bad things that happen to us. But those are just lies, Zoe. They're lies meant to keep us trapped. Zoe considered this. Mama used to say I was her sunshine. She said I was the best thing that ever happened to her. But Aunt Denise says Mama was a liar too. She says Mama pretended to be perfect, but she was really selfish and spoiled, and that's why God punished her with cancer. David felt sick. Your mama wasn't punished, sweetheart. Cancer isn't a punishment. It's a disease. A terrible disease that happens to good people sometimes. And I'm sure your mama loved you very, very much. She did. Tears welled up in Zoe's eyes again. She loved me and MJ. She used to sing to us and read us stories and make us pancakes on Saturday mornings. And then she got sick. And she got sicker. And Aunt Denise moved in to help. And at first, she was nice. But then Mama died. And Aunt Denise changed. She got mean. She got angry all the time. And Daddy was so sad. He worked more and more. And he was never home. And it was just me and MJ and her. And she... Zoe couldn't finish. David sat down on the floor next to her, ignoring his expensive suit. You don't have to say any more right now. You've been so brave, Zoe. So incredibly brave. Now it's time to let the grown-ups take over. We're going to keep you and MJ safe. That's our job now. Okay. Zoe nodded slowly. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Zoe spoke again. Mr. David. Yes. Why did you come? Why did you come into the school? David thought about it. I don't know exactly. I just had a feeling that something was wrong and that I needed to check. Sometimes God puts those feelings in our hearts. Sometimes we're meant to be in certain places at certain times. Do you believe in God? I do. I used to. Mama believed in God. She said he loved us and watched over us. But after she died and Aunt Denise started hurting me, I thought maybe God forgot about us, or maybe he didn't love us anymore. David's heart ached. God didn't forget you, Zoe. Sometimes when we're in the middle of the storm, it's hard to see his hand at work. But he puts people in our path to help us. Teachers like Mrs. Patterson who notice when something's wrong. Strangers like me who follow a feeling. And fathers like yours who drop everything to come when their children need them. You really think Daddy's coming? I know he is. Aunt Denise says he doesn't care. She says if he really loved us, he'd be home more. She says he chose work over Mama, that he was never there for her when she was sick, and now he's doing the same thing to us. Is that true? Was your daddy not there when your mama was sick? Zoe frowned, trying to remember. He was there. He would sit with Mama at night. He would hold her hand. I saw him crying once when he thought I was asleep. He was sitting by her bed holding her hand, and he was crying so hard. He kept saying, "Don't leave me, Keisha. Please don't leave me." Then he loved your mama very much. Yeah. Zoe's voice was soft. He did. And he loves us too. I know he does. He's sad all the time now. And Aunt Denise is always there. She cooks and cleans and takes care of everything. And I think Daddy believes she's helping. He doesn't know what she does when he's not home. He doesn't know about the hitting, or the locking us in our rooms, or the not letting us eat. He's going to know now. What if he doesn't believe me? What if Aunt Denise convinces him I'm lying? He'll believe you. I'll make sure of it. Heavy footsteps in the hallway made them both look up. The bathroom door burst open and a man stood there breathless, his tie askew, his eyes wild with fear. Marcus Williams had run 3 red lights to get here. He'd left a $15 million negotiation in the middle of a crucial point. He'd driven through Atlanta traffic like a madman, his heart pounding, David Carter's words echoing in his head. Your daughter is covered in bruises. And now he was looking at his baby girl, his Zoe, his sunshine, sitting on a dirty bathroom floor with tears on her cheeks and purple marks on her arms. Zoe. His voice cracked. Daddy. She launched herself at him, and he caught her, swept her up into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. He was crying. He couldn't stop. His little girl, his precious little girl, who he'd been too busy to protect. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't see. I'm so sorry. David Carter stood up, watching the reunion, feeling tears prick his own eyes. Mr. Williams, I'm David Carter. We spoke on the phone. Marcus looked up, still holding Zoe. You said she has bruises. You said she was hiding. Yes. She's been afraid to go home. She told us her aunt has been hurting her. Marcus's face went pale. Claire Denise. My sister-in-law. Yes. That's impossible. She's family. She moved in to help. She loved Keisha. She loves the kids. Zoe stiffened in his arms. Daddy, no. She doesn't love us. She hates us. She says we killed Mama. She says we're burdens. She hits me all the time and she locks me in my room and she doesn't let me eat sometimes and she shakes MJ when he cries and... Wait, slow down. Marcus pulled back to look at his daughter. What do you mean she hits you? When I'm bad, when I don't do what she says fast enough, when I make her angry. Show me. Zoe hesitated, then slowly pushed up the sleeves of her uniform. Marcus made a sound like a wounded animal. Her arms were a map of violence. Bruises in every stage of healing. Fingerprint marks where someone had grabbed her too hard. Yellow-green fading marks, purple fresh marks, the evidence of weeks and months of abuse. Oh my God. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God, Zoe. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't. She said if I told she'd hurt MJ. She said she'd send me away. She said you loved her more than me, that you would believe her and not me, that I was just a lying little girl who made up stories. Marcus felt rage building inside him, a black tide that threatened to overwhelm everything. How long? He asked. How long has this been going on? Since Mama died. Since you started working more. She was nice at first. But then Mama was gone and she changed. She got mean. So mean, Daddy. Marcus looked at David Carter and his eyes were blazing. Where is she? Where is Denise right now? At your house, presumably. Waiting for Zoe to come home. Marcus started to move toward the door, still holding Zoe. I'm going to kill her. I'm going to... Mr. Williams, wait. David stepped in front of him. I understand how you're feeling. Believe me, I do. But we need to handle this carefully. Your son is at home with her right now. If we confront her, if she feels cornered." Marcus stopped cold. MJ, his 18-month-old son, alone with that monster. "I have to get him. I have to get MJ." "I know, but we need to call the police. We need to do this right. If we storm in there, she might panic. She might do something to the baby. We need a plan." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. His children. Both of his children had been living with a monster while he worked 14-hour days building a company, making money, thinking he was providing for them. And all along they were being hurt in his own home. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Tell me what to do." "First, we document everything. Mrs. Patterson has already taken photos of Zoe's bruises. We call the police and Child Protective Services. We explain the situation. They'll know how to safely remove MJ from the home. And Denise? She'll be arrested. She'll face charges, child abuse, child endangerment, whatever else they find." Marcus nodded slowly, trying to think through the fog of rage and grief. Okay, let's do it. But I want to call Denise first. I want to..." "That's not a good idea. I need to keep her calm. I need to make sure she doesn't know we're onto her. If she thinks something's wrong, she might run. She might take MJ." David considered this. "You're right. But can you do it? Can you pretend everything is normal when you know what she's done?" Marcus looked down at Zoe in his arms. "For my children, I can do anything." He pulled out his phone. His hand was shaking so badly he could barely hold it. Denise answered on the first ring. "Marcus, where are you? I've been trying to reach you. The school called and said Zoe left with someone. What's going on?" Her voice was perfect, concerned, loving. The voice of a caring aunt who only wanted the best for her niece. Marcus wanted to scream at her. He wanted to reach through the phone and wrap his hands around her throat. Instead, he forced his voice to sound normal. "Sorry, Denise. My phone was on silent. I got out of my meeting early and picked up Zoe myself. Thought we'd have some daddy-daughter time. Maybe get ice cream." A pause. Just a fraction of a second too long. "That's wonderful. Zoe would love that. But Marcus, you really should have called. I was worried sick. The school called and I had to rush over there and they said she'd already been picked up and I didn't know. I'm sorry, I should have let you know. How's MJ?" Another pause. "He's fine. Sleeping. He's been a bit fussy today. Probably teething." Fussy. The word hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. "Well, let him sleep. Zoe and I will grab dinner out. We'll be home around 7. "Marcus." Denise's voice changed slightly, something harder underneath the sweetness. "Is everything okay? You sound strange." "Just tired. Long day. Lots of stress at work." "Are you sure? Because the school called and asked some strange questions. About Zoe, about whether she was having problems at home." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What kind of questions?" "I don't know. Something about her being upset at school. They seemed suspicious. I told them everything was fine, of course. That Zoe is a happy, healthy child who's loved very much. But it worried me. Has she been saying things, making up stories?" Marcus looked at his daughter, at the bruises on her arms, at the fear still lingering in her eyes. "No," he said. "She hasn't said anything." "Good, because you know how children are. They make up things for attention. They don't understand the damage they can do with lies." "I know. Look, I have to go. Zoe's waiting. We'll see you tonight." "Marcus!" He hung up before she could say another word. "She knows," he said to David. "She knows something is wrong. The school called her with questions. She's suspicious." David's face went grave. "Then we need to move fast. If she feels threatened, she might run. She might take the baby and disappear. I need to get MJ, right now. I can't wait for the police." "Mr. Williams." "He's my son. He's 18 months old, and he's alone with a woman who hurt my daughter for 2 years. I am not leaving him there 1 minute longer than I have to." Zoe grabbed her father's arm. "Daddy, no! She'll hurt him. She'll know something's wrong and she'll take it out on MJ. Please let the police go. Please. Marcus looked at his daughter, saw the terror in her eyes, and realized she was right. He was thinking with his heart, not his head. If he showed up at the house, if Denise realized what was happening, there was no telling what she might do. Okay, he said finally. Okay. Call the police. Call everyone. But tell them to hurry. Every second my son is in that house, he's in danger. David was already dialing. Detective Mitchell. This is David Carter. We have a situation. A child abuse case. There's still a baby in the home with the alleged abuser. We need units dispatched immediately. He gave the address, explained the circumstances, stressed the urgency. When he hung up, his face was tense. They're sending officers now. They'll do a welfare check. They'll remove MJ from the home and take Denise into custody. How long? 20 minutes. Maybe less. 20 minutes. It felt like an eternity. Marcus sat down in one of the small classroom chairs, Zoe still clinging to him. She hadn't let go since he arrived, and he realized with a pang of guilt that he couldn't remember the last time he'd held her like this. Couldn't remember the last time he'd been truly present with his children. I'm sorry, he whispered into her braids. I'm so sorry, baby. I should have been here. I should have seen what was happening. It's not your fault, Daddy. Aunt Denise is good at pretending. She was always so nice when you were around. She only got mean when you left. Why didn't you tell me? When I came home, why didn't you say something? Zoe was quiet for a moment. Because you were so sad. After Mama died, you cried all the time. You looked so tired, so broken. And Aunt Denise said I shouldn't bother you with small things. She said you had enough to worry about. She said if I really loved you, I would be quiet and good and not make problems. Marcus closed his eyes against the pain. He had been sad. He had been broken. After Keisha died, after the love of his life was taken from him, he had thrown himself into work to escape the grief. He had worked longer hours, taken more trips, spent less time at home where every room reminded him of what he'd lost. And in his absence, a monster had moved in and tortured his children. I'm never leaving you again, he said fiercely. Never. Do you hear me, Zoe? From now on, I'm here. I'm present. Nothing is more important than you and your brother. Nothing. Zoe looked up at him. Do you promise? I promise. On your mother's memory, I promise. Mrs. Patterson came back into the room. The police are on their way to your house. I just spoke to Detective Mitchell. She said they'll call you as soon as they have the baby. Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. The minutes crawled by. David tried to make small talk to distract them, but no one could focus on anything except the phone sitting silent in Marcus's hand. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then it rang. Marcus answered before the first ring finished. Detective Mitchell, do you have him? Is MJ okay? There was a pause. A terrible pause that made Marcus's heart stop beating. Mr. Williams, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Where's my son? We arrived at your house 3 minutes ago. The front door was wide open. Miss Denise is gone, and so is your son. The words didn't make sense. Marcus heard them, but they seemed to be in a language he didn't understand. What do you mean, gone? Where did she go? We don't know. There are signs of a hasty departure. The baby's diaper bag is missing. Some of Miss Denise's clothes are gone. She must have realized something was wrong and fled. No. Marcus was on his feet, Zoe sliding to the floor. No, no, no. You have to find them. You have to. We've issued an alert for her vehicle. Every officer in the city is looking for her. We will find them, Mr. Williams. But there's something else you need to know. What? Detective Mitchell's voice was careful, controlled, but Marcus could hear the tension underneath. We found blood in the baby's room, on the crib sheet, on the carpet. We don't know whose blood it is yet, but we're testing it now. The phone slipped from Marcus's hand. He heard Zoe screaming. He heard David Carter catching the phone speaking rapidly to the detective. But all he could see was his son's face. MJ's chubby cheeks, his bright smile, the way he laughed when Marcus tickled him. And then a new image. Blood on a crib sheet. Blood on the carpet. His baby. His innocent, helpless baby. "We have to find him," Marcus heard himself say. "We have to find him now." His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He looked down at the screen and felt his heart shatter into a million pieces. It was a photo. MJ strapped in a car seat, tear tracks on his round cheeks, his little face red from crying. And below it, a message. "You should have minded your own business, Marcus. Now look what you've made me do." Marcus stared at the photo of his son, and the world around him dissolved into white noise. MJ's face was red and wet with tears. His chubby hands were reaching toward the camera, reaching for someone to save him. And those eyes, Keisha's eyes, were filled with terror. "She has him." Marcus's voice came out strangled. "Denise has my son." David Carter grabbed the phone from Marcus's trembling hands and looked at the photo. His jaw tightened. "Detective Mitchell, the suspect, just sent a photo to Mr. Williams. She has the baby. She's taunting him." Zoe was crying, her small body shaking with sobs. "MJ. She took MJ. This is my fault. I should have protected him better. I should have." Marcus knelt down and grabbed his daughter's shoulders. "Zoe, look at me. This is not your fault. None of this is your fault. Do you understand me?" "But I told you and Mrs. Patterson and Mr. David, and now she's angry and she's going to hurt him and—" "We're going to find him. I promise you, baby. We're going to find your brother and bring him home safe." Another text came through on Marcus's phone. David read it aloud. "You should have kept working, Marcus. You should have kept traveling, kept being the absent father you've always been. Now look what you've made me do." Marcus grabbed the phone back. "I'm going to respond. I'm going to keep her talking. The police can trace the signal right. They can find her." David nodded. "Detective Mitchell is working on it. Keep her engaged. Don't make her feel cornered." Marcus's fingers moved across the screen. "Denise, please. Whatever you think I've done, MJ is innocent. He's just a baby. Don't hurt him. Tell me what you want." The response came within seconds. "What I want is the life Keisha had. The house. The money. The security. I deserve it. I'm her sister. It should have been mine. She had everything, and I had nothing. And then she died. And I thought finally, it would be my turn." Marcus felt bile rising in his throat. "She's crazy," he whispered. "She's completely crazy." Mrs. Patterson put a hand on his arm. "Keep her talking. Every second you keep her engaged is another second for the police to find her." Marcus typed again. "I didn't know you felt that way. We can talk about this. Just tell me where you are. Let me see MJ, please." The wait for a response felt like hours. Zoe had stopped crying and was watching her father with those hollow, frightened eyes. Finally, the phone buzzed. "You never saw me, Marcus. Never looked at me like anything except the help. I moved into your house. I raised your children. I cooked your meals. I was there every single day while you worked and traveled and pretended your family didn't exist. And you never once looked at me the way you looked at her." David's phone rang. He stepped away to answer it, speaking in low, urgent tones. Marcus kept typing. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize. But hurting MJ won't change anything. Please, Denise. He's 18 months old. He doesn't understand what's happening. Neither did I when I was a child. Neither did I when our parents gave Keisha everything and gave me nothing. Neither did I when she married a millionaire and I was stuck in a dead-end job with a mountain of debt. Life isn't fair, Marcus. Your son is learning that lesson early." Marcus's hands were shaking so badly he could barely type. David came back, his face grim. "They've got a partial trace on the phone signal. She's heading north on Highway 285. They're dispatching units to intercept, but she's got a 15-minute head start." 15 minutes? Marcus was on his feet. "That's too long. She could be anywhere by then. She could—" His phone buzzed again. Maybe it's better this way. Maybe I should just drive off a bridge and end it all. Take your precious son with me. Then you'll know what it feels like to lose everything. Zoe screamed. Marcus felt the ground shift beneath his feet. She's going to kill him. She's going to kill my son. He was already running toward the door. David caught his arm. Marcus, wait. You can't just... She said she's going to drive off a bridge. I have to find her. And do what you don't know where she is. The police are already looking. You running around blindly isn't going to help. I can't just stand here. I can't just wait while she... His phone buzzed. Did you know Keisha hated me too? She pretended to love me, but I could see it in her eyes. The same superiority, the same judgment. She thought she was better than me, just because she was prettier, smarter, more successful. When she got cancer, I prayed she would die. And when she finally did, I thought God had answered my prayers. But even from the grave, she wins. Because her children look at me and see only the inferior copy of their perfect mother. Marcus's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the classroom floor, still clutching the phone. She hated Keisha. She's been hating all of us this whole time. She moved into my home and took care of my children while hating every single one of us. Mrs. Patterson was crying quietly. Zoe had climbed into her father's lap, pressing her face against his chest. Daddy, you have to save MJ. You have to. I will, baby. I will. He typed another message. Denise, listen to me. I know you're angry. I know you've been hurting for a long time. But killing yourself and MJ won't fix anything. It won't bring you peace. Please, just pull over. Let's talk face to face. 3 agonizing minutes passed with no response. Then, do you know what it's like to be invisible, to be the sister no one remembers, to watch someone else live the life you were supposed to have? Keisha got the looks. Keisha got the grades. Keisha got the husband and the children and the big house. And I got nothing. I got to be her shadow, her caretaker when she was dying, the aunt who babysat while her widowed husband worked himself to death. I gave up everything for this family, and none of you ever once said thank you. David's phone rang again. He answered immediately. Detective Mitchell? Yes. Yes, I'm with him. Where? Marcus looked up. What is it? Did they find her? David held up a hand, listening intently. His face went pale. Lake Lanier Bridge. She's heading toward the Lake Lanier Bridge. How long until units arrive? That's not fast enough. She's already at the bridge approach. Marcus was up and running before David finished speaking. He burst through the school doors and sprinted toward his car. Marcus, wait! David was right behind him, Zoe in his arms. You can't drive in this condition. Let me... Get in. Marcus was already behind the wheel, starting the engine. Both of you get in now. David buckled Zoe into the back seat and jumped into the passenger side. Marcus peeled out of the parking lot before the door was fully closed. Head north on 285. David said, his phone pressed to his ear. Detective Mitchell is coordinating with units already en route. She says to stay back. Do not approach the suspect. She has my son. She's going to drive off a bridge with my son. Marcus, if you approach her wrong, she might panic. She might do exactly what she's threatening. The police are trained for this. Let them handle it. Like they handled getting to my house before she ran. Like they handled finding her before she could take MJ. Marcus's phone buzzed. He handed it to David without looking. Read it to me. David looked at the screen and hesitated. Read it. David took a breath. She says I'm at the bridge now. The water looks so peaceful. Maybe Keisha is down there waiting for me. Maybe she'll finally say she's sorry for being born first, for being better, for taking everything I ever wanted. Zoe was crying in the back seat. Daddy, please, please save MJ. Marcus pressed the accelerator harder. The speedometer climbed. 70, 80, 85. Type this, Marcus said to David. Tell her I'll give her anything. Money, the house, whatever she wants. Just don't hurt my son. David typed and sent the message. The response was almost immediate. "It's too late for that, Marcus. It was too late the moment you chose to believe a lying little girl over me. I loved those children. I loved them in my own way, but they never loved me back. They looked at me like I was a monster, like I was the enemy. All I wanted was a family. All I wanted was to belong somewhere." But Keisha's ghost was always there, always between me and everything I wanted. Maybe if I take her son, she'll finally feel some of the pain I've felt my whole life. Marcus made a sound somewhere between a scream and a sob. "She's insane. She's completely insane. And she has my baby." They were on 285 now, weaving through traffic at dangerous speeds. Other cars honked and swerved out of the way. David was on the phone with Detective Mitchell. "We're about 5 minutes from the bridge. What's the situation?" "What do you mean she's stopped on the bridge? Is she out of the car?" Marcus heard sirens in the distance. "She's on the bridge," David said. "She's parked at the railing. Police are approaching from both ends, but they're holding back. They don't want to spook her." "Can they see MJ? Is he okay?" David asked the question into the phone. The answer made his face go tight. "They can see the car seat in the back. The baby appears to be in it. They can't tell if he's moving." Marcus gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. And then he saw it. The bridge. Police cars blocking both approaches, lights flashing. Officers crouched behind their vehicles. And in the middle of the bridge, a lone car parked crookedly against the railing. Denise's car. Marcus slammed on the brakes and was out of the car before it fully stopped. Sir, you can't go out there." An officer tried to grab him. "That's my son. That's my baby in that car." Detective Mitchell appeared, a tall black woman with a commanding presence. She stepped in front of Marcus. "Mr. Williams, I need you to stay back. We're trying to negotiate with her." "Negotiate?" "She said she's going to drive off the bridge. We have officers positioned on both ends. She can't get past us. We're trying to talk her down, but if you go charging out there, you could set her off." Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked down. "Call me. I want to hear your voice one last time before I do this." Detective Mitchell saw the message. "Don't. Let our negotiator handle this. She wants to talk to me, not to a stranger. To me. Let me try. Let me try to save my son." Detective Mitchell hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Keep her on the phone. Keep her calm. We're positioning a unit on the water below just in case." Marcus dialed the number with trembling hands. Denise answered on the second ring. "Marcus, you came." "I came. I'm here. Can you see me?" "I can see the police cars. I can see all the lights. Such a big fuss over one little baby. He's not just any baby. He's my son. And he's your nephew. Your blood, Denise. Keisha's blood." Silence. "Please." Marcus continued, his voice breaking. "Whatever I did wrong, whatever I failed to see, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. But MJ didn't do anything. He's innocent. He's just a baby who wants his daddy. You were never there for him anyway. You were never there for any of them. Keisha died, and you just disappeared into your work like your children didn't exist. I know. I know I was wrong, but I'm here now. I'm standing here because I love my son, and I want to bring him home. Please, Denise, just get out of the car and let me take him. You can walk away. I won't press charges. I won't." "Liar." Her voice was sharp. "You'll have me arrested the moment I step out of this car. You'll throw me in prison and tell everyone what a monster I am. Everyone will know. Everyone will judge me. I'll be the evil aunt who hurt those poor motherless children. I can't live with that, Marcus. I won't." "Then what do you want? Tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen." A long pause. When Denise spoke again, her voice had changed. Quieter. Sadder. Almost like the woman he thought he knew. "I wanted you to love me. That's all I ever wanted. I thought if I took care of your children, if I ran your household, if I made myself indispensable, you would eventually see me. Not as Keisha's sister, not as the nanny, but as a woman, someone you could love, someone who could take her place. Marcus felt his stomach turn. Denise, But you never did. Every time you looked at me, you looked through me. I was invisible, just like I've always been invisible. My whole life I've been the one people look past, the one nobody chooses. And I thought this time would be different. I thought if I was patient, if I was perfect, you would finally see me. But then today happened. And now everyone will see me. But they'll see a monster. They won't see the woman who gave up everything for a family that was never hers. You're not invisible to me, Denise. I see you. I see you right now. Please, just get out of the car. Let's talk face to face. Is Zoe with you? Marcus looked back at his car where Zoe was pressed against the window, David Carter holding her back. Yes, she's here. Put her on the phone. No, absolutely not. Put her on, or I drive. Marcus felt the world spinning. Denise, please. She's 7 years old. She's terrified. Don't do this to her. I want to hear her voice. I want her to know what she did. She destroyed everything by opening her big mouth. If she had just stayed quiet like I taught her, none of this would be happening. Detective Mitchell was making frantic signals at Marcus. Keep her talking. Keep her on the line. I'll put you on speaker, Marcus said. You can talk to both of us, but please, Denise, stay in the car. Don't do anything. Just stay where you are. He walked back toward David's position and put the phone on speaker. Zoe? Denise's voice came through eerily calm. Can you hear me? Zoe was shaking, tears streaming down her face. David tried to hold her back, but she stepped forward. Yes, Aunt Denise, I can hear you. This is your fault, you know. If you had just been a good girl, if you had just kept your mouth shut and done what you were told. But no, you had to tell. You had to ruin everything. I'm sorry, Zoe whispered. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt MJ. I'll be good. I'll do whatever you say. Just please don't hurt my brother. It's too late for that, Zoe. It's too late for all of us. Through the phone, they heard a car engine start. Marcus started running toward the bridge. Denise, no, wait. Officers were shouting. Sirens wailed. And on the bridge, Denise's car began to move. Not toward the railing, not off the bridge, but forward, toward the police barricade at the far end. She was trying to run. Officers dove out of the way as the car accelerated. It crashed through the barricade, metal scraping and sparking. Marcus was screaming his son's name. And then, as suddenly as it started, the car stopped. Smoke poured from under the hood. The engine had given out, damaged by the collision with the barricade. Officers swarmed the vehicle, weapons drawn. Get out of the car! Get out now! Marcus kept running, ignoring the shouts to stay back. He reached the car just as officers pulled Denise from the driver's seat. She didn't resist. She just stood there staring at nothing as they handcuffed her. Marcus yanked open the back door. MJ was in his car seat, face red from crying, tear tracks on his cheeks. But he was moving. He was alive. He was reaching toward Marcus with both arms. Daddy's here, baby. Daddy's here. Marcus unbuckled his son and pulled him close, pressing his face against MJ's soft curls. The baby wailed, clinging to his father with desperate strength. Is he okay? Detective Mitchell was beside him. Is the baby hurt? I don't know. I need a medic. I need someone to check him. Paramedics rushed forward. One of them gently took MJ from Marcus's arms to examine him. Denise was being walked toward a patrol car. As she passed Marcus, she stopped. I really did love them, she said quietly. In my own way. I loved them. Marcus looked at her. At this woman he had trusted with his children. At this monster wearing his dead wife's face. You have no idea what love is, he said. Denise smiled, a strange, broken smile. Neither do you. If you did, you would have been home. They put her in the patrol car and drove away. Zoe appeared at Marcus's side, David right behind her. She looked at MJ now being examined by the paramedics and burst into fresh tears. Is he okay? Is my brother okay? The paramedic looked up with a gentle smile. He's dehydrated and his diaper rash is severe, but he's going to be fine. We want to take him to the hospital for observation, but there doesn't appear to be any serious injury. Marcus sank to his knees, Zoe collapsing against him. Thank God. Thank God. David Carter stood watching, his own eyes wet with tears. He had walked into a school bathroom 3 hours ago to check on a quiet little girl, and now he was standing on a bridge watching a family try to put itself back together. Detective Mitchell approached them. Mr. Williams, we're going to need statements from everyone. But right now, the priority is getting your children medical attention. There's an ambulance ready to take all 3 of you to Grady Memorial. Marcus nodded, too exhausted to speak. As they loaded MJ into the ambulance, as Zoe climbed in beside her brother and refused to leave his side, Marcus turned back to look at the bridge, at the damaged barricade, at the skid marks on the pavement. So close. They had come so close to losing everything. His phone buzzed one last time, a text from Denise's number. He almost didn't look, but something made him check. It wasn't from Denise. It was from Detective Mitchell. We found journals in her room at the house. You're going to want to sit down when you read them. They go back years, all the way back to when your wife was still alive. Marcus felt his blood run cold. What else had Denise done? What other secrets was he about to discover? The ambulance doors closed, and they drove toward the hospital. Toward safety. Toward the beginning of the long road to healing. But Marcus knew deep in his bones that the nightmare wasn't over yet. It was only just beginning. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of MJ's heart monitor. Marcus sat in the hard plastic chair beside his son's crib, watching the rise and fall of that tiny chest. Zoe was curled up on a small couch nearby, finally asleep after hours of refusing to close her eyes. It was past midnight. 6 hours since the bridge. 6 hours since Marcus had pulled his son from that car seat and held him like he would never let go. But Marcus couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Denise's face, heard her voice, felt the horror of those text messages burning through him all over again. His phone buzzed. Detective Mitchell. Mr. Williams, I know it's late, but we need to talk. Can you come to the station in the morning? Marcus looked at his sleeping children. What did you find in those journals? A pause. Too long. It's better if we discuss this in person. Detective, I haven't slept in almost 20 hours. My children are in the hospital. My sister-in-law just tried to kill my son. Whatever you found, I need to know. Now. Another pause. Then a heavy sigh. The journals go back 4 years, Mr. Williams. Before your wife died. Before she even got sick. Marcus felt ice spreading through his veins. What do you mean? Denise Thompson has been obsessed with your family for a very long time. The entries are detailed. They describe her jealousy of your wife, her resentment of your children, her plans to become part of your family. And Mr. Williams, there are entries from the months when your wife was dying. Entries that suggest Denise may have done more than just pray for your wife's death. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone. What are you saying? I'm saying we found references to medication, to dosages, to deliberate delays in getting your wife medical attention when she needed it. We're consulting with the medical examiner now. We're going to need to review your wife's medical records. And Mr. Williams, I'm sorry to say this, but we may need to consider exhuming her body. The phone slipped from Marcus's fingers. Keisha. His Keisha. Had Denise done something to her? Had she hastened her death? Had she watched his wife suffer and deliberately made it worse? He picked up the phone with numb hands. Are you telling me she killed my wife? I'm telling you we have reason to investigate. The journals are disturbing. Denise writes about wanting Keisha to suffer, about giving her extra medication to make her sleep so she wouldn't have to listen to her complaints, about delaying calls to the doctor when Keisha was in crisis. Whether any of this rises to the level of criminal culpability, we don't know yet, but we're taking it very seriously. Marcus felt the room spinning. I want to see them, the journals. I want to read what she wrote. Mr. Williams, I don't think that's a good idea. Not right now. You need to focus on your children, on healing. Let us do our job. She was my wife. Those are my children she wrote about. I have a right to know what that woman was thinking, what she was planning, what she did in my own home. Detective Mitchell was quiet for a moment. Come to the station tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Bring someone with you. You shouldn't be alone when you read these. Marcus ended the call and sat staring at nothing. 4 years. Denise had been watching them for 4 years, planning, waiting, hating, and he had invited her into his home. He had trusted her with his children. He had left his family alone with a monster while he chased money and success. His phone buzzed again. David Carter. I just spoke to Detective Mitchell. She told me about the journals. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what you're going through. She might have killed Keisha. Marcus's voice was hollow. She might have watched my wife die and made it worse. She might have murdered the mother of my children. We don't know that yet. The investigation is just starting. But she thought about it. She wrote about it. She wanted Keisha dead, and then Keisha died. And Denise moved into my house and started hurting my children. How did I not see it? How did I miss all of this? Because she was good at hiding. Because you were grieving. Because monsters don't always look like monsters. This isn't your fault, Marcus. Isn't it? I was never home. I buried myself in work because I couldn't stand to be in that house without Keisha. I left my children with the one person who wanted to hurt them most. What kind of father does that? A father who was lost in grief. A father who trusted family. You made mistakes, Marcus. We all do. But you're here now. You saved your son. You believed your daughter when she needed you most. That matters. Marcus looked at Zoe still sleeping on the couch. She had bruises on her arms. Bruises that he had failed to see for 2 years. I'm going to the station tomorrow. I'm going to read those journals. And then I'm going to make sure Denise Thompson spends the rest of her life in prison. Do you want me to come with you? You've already done so much. You don't need to. I'm coming. 8 o'clock. I'll pick you up at the hospital. Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes. Why are you doing all this for a family you barely know? David was quiet for a moment. Because someone did it for me once. When I was at my lowest, when I thought I'd lost everything, a stranger stepped in and helped me. I'm just paying it forward. Get some rest, Marcus. Tomorrow is going to be a hard day. The call ended, and Marcus sat alone with his sleeping children, watching the monitors blink in the darkness. 8 hours later, Marcus walked into the Atlanta Police Department with David Carter at his side. Detective Mitchell met them in the lobby and led them to a conference room where a stack of notebooks sat on the table. Before you start, Detective Mitchell said, I want to warn you. What's in these journals is deeply disturbing. Denise Thompson has been building a fantasy world in her head for years. A world where she deserves everything your wife had. A world where your children are obstacles to be managed or eliminated. And a world where you are eventually going to recognize her as the perfect replacement for Keisha. Marcus sat down heavily. Just let me read. Detective Mitchell nodded and stepped back. Marcus opened the first journal. The date at the top was from 4.5 years ago, before Keisha got sick, before any of this nightmare began. The handwriting was neat and precise, almost clinical. Saw Marcus and Keisha at the charity gala tonight. They looked perfect as always. The golden couple. Everyone loves them. Everyone admires them. Nobody even noticed I was there. I stood in the corner watching them dance, and I thought about how it should have been me. Marcus should have met me first. I'm prettier than Keisha. I'm smarter. I would have been a better wife, but no. She always gets everything, and I get nothing. I'm so tired of being invisible. Marcus turned the page. Keisha is pregnant again. Another baby. Another tie binding Marcus to her. I hate her so much sometimes I can barely breathe. She has everything I ever wanted, and she doesn't even appreciate it. She complains about morning sickness while I work a dead-end job and come home to an empty apartment. If there was any justice in this world, she would lose that baby. She doesn't deserve another one. Marcus felt sick. Keisha had been pregnant with MJ when Denise wrote those words. His son, who was sleeping in a hospital bed right now, had been resented before he was even born. He kept reading. Keisha has cancer, breast cancer stage 3. When Marcus called to tell me I had to pretend to be sad, had to say all the right things, but inside I felt something I've never felt before. Hope. Maybe God is finally listening. Maybe she'll die and I'll get my chance. Is that evil I don't care anymore? I've spent my whole life watching her get everything. It's my turn. David put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You don't have to read all of this right now. Yes, I do. Marcus turned to a section marked with a police evidence tag. The entries were from Keisha's final months. Keisha is in so much pain. The cancer has spread. The doctors say it's a matter of time now. I've moved into the house to help, to take care of her. Everyone thinks I'm such a good sister, such a saint. They don't know that every night after everyone else is asleep, I sit by her bed and whisper in her ear. I tell her it's okay to let go. I tell her the children will be fine. I tell her Marcus will be taken care of. By me. Marcus's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the journal. Last night, Keisha woke up in terrible pain. She was crying, begging for her medication, but the nurse had stepped out and I was the only one there. I could have called for help. I could have gotten her pills. Instead, I sat there and watched her suffer. For almost an hour, I watched her cry and moan and beg for relief. It felt good. It felt like justice. She finally knows what it's like to want something desperately and not get it. David stood up abruptly and walked to the window. His hands were clenched into fists. Marcus kept reading. The doctor said Keisha took a turn for the worse last night. He doesn't understand why. But I do. I gave her an extra dose of her pain medication before I went to bed. Not enough to kill her. Just enough to make her sleep deeper longer. Just enough to make her weaker. I'm helping her along. That's all. Helping her reach the inevitable end a little faster. Is that so wrong? She's dying anyway? I'm just speeding up the process. Marcus slammed the journal down on the table. She killed her. She killed Keisha. She sat in my house and slowly poisoned my wife. Detective Mitchell stepped forward. We don't know that for certain yet. We're consulting with medical experts. We're reviewing the medication records. If there's evidence that Denise Thompson contributed to your wife's death, we will add murder charges. If she wrote it down, she confessed in her own handwriting. Journals aren't always reliable, Mr. Williams. Defense attorneys will argue she was exaggerating, fantasizing, writing fiction. We need corroborating evidence. Medical records, witness testimony, physical proof. Marcus grabbed another journal, flipping through the pages. The day after Keisha's funeral, I stood beside Marcus at the grave and held his hand. He looked so broken, so lost. I wanted to tell him that I was there, that I would take care of him, that I would be everything Keisha couldn't be anymore. But it's too soon. I have to be patient. I have to wait for the right moment. For now, I'll take care of the children. I'll make myself indispensable. And when enough time has passed, Marcus will see me. He'll finally see me. Marcus flipped ahead several months. The children are impossible. Zoe cries for her mother constantly. MJ is colicky and screams all night. I'm exhausted. I'm doing everything, and nobody appreciates me. Marcus is never home. He's always working, always traveling, always leaving me alone with these ungrateful brats. This isn't what I signed up for. I wanted to be Marcus's wife, not his nanny. I wanted to be loved, not used. Another entry a few weeks later. I hit Zoe today. She spilled juice on the carpet and then lied about it. I didn't mean to hit her so hard, but once I started I couldn't stop. She looked at me with Keisha's eyes and I saw red. I told her if she ever told anyone, I would hurt MJ. She believed me. She's terrified of me now. Good. Fear is easier to manage than love. Marcus threw the journal across the room. 2 years. She did this for 2 years, and I didn't see it. I didn't protect them. David came back to the table. You see it now. That's what matters. Is it enough? My daughter has bruises all over her body. My son was almost driven off a bridge. And my wife, the love of my life, she might have died faster because of that woman. Seeing it now doesn't fix any of that. Detective Mitchell gathered the journals. Mr. Williams, I know this is overwhelming, but I need to ask you some questions. About your wife's final days. About the medication she was taking. About who had access to her prescriptions. Marcus sank back into his chair. Denise handled everything. The medications, the dosages, the schedule. The hospice nurse came twice a day, but Denise was there around the clock. She was the one who gave Keisha her pills. She was the one who sat with her at night. Did your wife ever seem over-medicated, more confused or sleepy than expected? Marcus closed his eyes, trying to remember. The last few weeks, yes. She was harder to wake up. The doctors said it was the cancer progressing, her body shutting down. But there were moments when she seemed almost drugged. I asked Denise about it once, and she said Keisha was just tired, that her body needed rest. I believed her. I believed everything she said. Did your wife ever express concerns about Denise? Any friction between the sisters? Marcus thought back. Keisha loved Denise. She always felt guilty that her life had turned out so well while Denise struggled. She tried to help her, gave her money, offered to pay for school or training. But looking back, Denise never seemed grateful. She always had this look in her eyes when Keisha wasn't watching. This resentment. I noticed it, but I told myself I was imagining things. Sisters are complicated, I thought. I didn't want to cause problems. Detective Mitchell wrote something in her notebook. We're going to need to interview everyone who was present during your wife's illness. The hospice nurses, the doctors, anyone who spent time in your home. And Mr. Williams, I have to ask, has Denise Thompson ever expressed romantic interest in you directly? Marcus felt his face flush with shame. Once, about 6 months after Keisha died. She came into my study late one night. She was wearing perfume, and she'd done her hair. She said she wanted to talk about our future, about what came next. I told her I wasn't ready. I told her I would never be ready, not with her. She was Keisha's sister. I could never see her that way. How did she react? She apologized, said she understood, said she would always be there for me and the children, no matter what. I thought she had accepted it. I thought we had moved past it. But after that night, things changed with the children. Zoe started having nightmares. MJ became clingier. I thought they were just processing grief. I didn't realize Denise was taking out her rejection on them. David spoke up. Detective, what happens now? What are the charges? Multiple counts of child abuse, child endangerment, kidnapping, assault. And we're building a case for financial exploitation. Miss Thompson has been systematically stealing from Mr. Williams for 2 years. Forged checks, unauthorized credit card charges, wire transfers. Over $300,000. Marcus's head snapped up. 300,000? From my accounts. You didn't notice? I have accountants. I trusted them to handle everything. I was so focused on work that I barely looked at the statements. I signed whatever Denise put in front of me. She had access to your accounts. She handled the household finances, bills, groceries, supplies for the children. I gave her access because I trusted her, because I was too busy to do it myself. Detective Mitchell's expression was grim. She exploited that trust. We found evidence that she was transferring money to accounts in her own name. She was also accumulating debt in your name. Credit cards you didn't know about. A second mortgage on the house that you never signed for. Marcus felt the walls closing in. How is any of this possible? How did she do all of this without anyone noticing? She was careful, patient. She took small amounts at first, then larger ones as she gained confidence. She covered her tracks well. If you hadn't believed your daughter today, if you hadn't investigated, she might have drained you completely before anyone caught on. Marcus looked at David. Zoe saved us. A 7-year-old girl saved us from losing everything. She's a brave kid. She has her father's strength. The door opened and a young officer stepped in. Detective Mitchell. The assistant district attorney is here. She wants to discuss the case. Detective Mitchell nodded. Give me a minute. She turned back to Marcus. Mr. Williams, we're going to do everything we can to build the strongest possible case. Denise Thompson is going to face justice for what she's done. But I have to prepare you for what's coming. The trial is going to be difficult. Your daughter will have to testify. Your family's private pain will become public. Are you ready for that? Marcus thought of Zoe sleeping in a hospital bed beside her brother. Thought of the bruises on her arms. Thought of the fear she had carried alone for 2 years. My daughter was brave enough to tell the truth when it cost her everything. The least I can do is stand beside her and fight for justice. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I'm ready. Detective Mitchell nodded. Then let's go meet the prosecutor. They walked down a long hallway to a larger conference room where a tall woman with silver-streaked hair waited. She looked up as they entered, her eyes sharp and assessing. Mr. Williams, I'm Vanessa Price, Assistant District Attorney. I've reviewed the preliminary reports. This is one of the most disturbing cases I've seen in 20 years of prosecuting child abuse. I want you to know that my office is committed to pursuing the maximum charges against Denise Thompson. Marcus shook her hand. What are we looking at? Based on what we have now, 20 to 30 years if convicted on all counts. But if the investigation into your wife's death produces evidence of criminal culpability, we could be looking at murder charges. That would mean life in prison. She deserves life. She deserves worse. I understand how you feel, but we have to build this case carefully. Defense will argue mental illness. They'll say she was unstable, that she didn't know what she was doing. They'll try to paint her as a victim of circumstance rather than a calculated predator. She knew exactly what she was doing. Those journals prove it. The journals are powerful evidence, but they're not conclusive. We need witnesses. We need medical records. And most importantly, we need your daughter's testimony. She's the key to this entire case. Marcus felt his protective instincts flare. She's 7 years old. She's been through enough. I know, and I promise you we will handle her with the utmost care. I have a specialist who works with child victims. We'll prepare her support, make sure she feels safe. But Mr. Williams, without her testimony, Denise Thompson's lawyers will argue that the bruises could have come from anywhere, that the journals were fantasy, that the kidnapping was a misunderstanding. Your daughter is the one who can look a jury in the eye and tell them exactly what happened in that house. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I'll need to talk to Zoe. She has to want to do this. I won't force her. Of course. Take the time you need. But know that when you're ready, we'll be here to support you every step of the way. They talked for another hour, going over details, reviewing evidence, planning the path forward. By the time Marcus left the police station, his head was spinning with information. David drove him back to the hospital in silence. Finally, as they pulled into the parking lot, David spoke. How are you holding up? Marcus stared at the hospital entrance. I don't know. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare that won't end. Every time I think I've processed the worst of it, something new comes out. The abuse, the kidnapping, the theft, and now Keisha. The possibility that Denise helped kill her. How am I supposed to process that? 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. You don't have to have it all figured out today. Marcus turned to look at David. You've been with me since the beginning of this. A stranger who walked into a bathroom and changed everything. How do I ever repay that? David smiled softly. Be there for your children. That's all the repayment I need. And maybe one day when someone else is lost and hurting you, pay it forward too. Marcus nodded slowly. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be the father they deserve. No more 14-hour days. No more missing dinners and bedtimes. I almost lost them. I'm not going to take a single moment for granted. Good. Now go be with your kids. I'll check in tomorrow. Marcus got out of the car and walked into the hospital. He took the elevator to the 3rd floor and made his way to MJ's room. The sight that greeted him made his heart swell with painful love. Zoe was awake. She was sitting on the edge of her brother's crib, one small hand resting on MJ's chest, watching him breathe. When she heard Marcus enter, she looked up with those big brown eyes. "Daddy, you're back." "I'm back, baby. I'm not going anywhere." He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. She clung to him with desperate strength. "Is Aunt Denise in jail?" "Yes, she's in jail and she's never getting out. She's never going to hurt you or MJ again, I promise." Zoe was quiet for a moment. "The police lady said I might have to talk to people about what Aunt Denise did. Is that true?" Marcus pulled back to look at her. "There might be a trial, and if there is, they might ask you to tell the truth about what happened. But only if you want to. No one is going to force you. Will you be there? Every single second. I will never leave your side." Zoe thought about it. "I want to do it. I want to tell everyone what she did, so she can never hurt any other kids, so everyone knows the truth." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. "You are the bravest person I have ever known, Zoe Williams. Your mother would be so proud of you." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "I miss Mama so much." "I know, baby. I miss her too. Every single day." "Daddy, did Aunt Denise hurt Mama?" Before she died, the police were asking questions about Mama's medicine. Marcus hesitated. "How did you tell a 7-year-old that the aunt who had tormented her might have also helped kill her mother?" "We don't know for sure yet, sweetheart. The police are still investigating. But whatever happened, whatever we find out, I want you to know that Mama loved you more than anything in this world. And she's watching over you right now. She's so proud of you." Zoe nodded slowly. "I think I knew. About Aunt Denise and Mama. I had dreams sometimes. Bad dreams about Aunt Denise standing over Mama's bed smiling. I thought they were just nightmares. But maybe I was remembering something real." Marcus held her tighter. "You don't have to think about that now. Right now all you need to do is rest and heal. We're going to get through this together, you, me, and MJ. We're a family, and nothing is ever going to tear us apart again." MJ stirred in his crib, letting out a small cry. Zoe immediately turned to him, reaching down to stroke his cheek. "It's okay, baby brother. Daddy's here. We're safe now." MJ settled his small fist, grabbing onto Zoe's finger. Marcus watched his 2 children, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. The road ahead would be long and hard. There would be a trial. There would be testimony. There would be more revelations about what Denise had done. But right now, in this moment, his children were safe. They were together. They were loved. And that was enough to face whatever came next. 3 weeks had passed since the bridge. 3 weeks of hospital visits, police interviews, therapy sessions, and sleepless nights. Marcus had sold his company to a competitor for a fraction of what it was worth, but he didn't care. Money meant nothing anymore. His children meant everything. They had moved into a smaller house on the other side of Atlanta. Zoe said she never wanted to see the old house again. Said she could still hear Aunt Denise's voice in every room. Said the walls remembered too much. Marcus had it put on the market the same day. Now he sat in the waiting room of the Fulton County Courthouse, Zoe beside him, David Carter on her other side. MJ was with a trusted babysitter, a woman David had personally vetted. Marcus couldn't bring himself to trust anyone anymore, but David's recommendation was enough. "Mr. Williams." A young woman in a gray suit approached them. One of Vanessa Price's assistants. They're ready for the preliminary hearing. You'll be in the gallery. Zoe won't need to testify today, but we wanted her to see the courtroom get comfortable with the space before the actual trial. Marcus looked at his daughter. Are you sure you want to do this, baby? You can wait outside. You don't have to see her. Zoe's jaw tightened. For a moment, she looked so much like Keisha that Marcus's heart ached. I want to see her. I want her to know I'm not afraid anymore. They walked into the courtroom together. It was larger than Marcus had expected, with high ceilings and wooden benches that smelled of furniture polish and old paper. The gallery was half full with reporters, curious observers, and a few people Marcus didn't recognize. And then Denise was brought in. She was wearing an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back from her face, no makeup to hide the circles under her eyes. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Nothing like the confident woman who had ruled Marcus's household for 2 years. When Denise saw Marcus and Zoe in the gallery, something flickered across her face. Recognition, regret, or maybe just anger at being caught. Zoe grabbed Marcus's hand and squeezed hard, but she didn't look away. The judge, a black woman in her 60s with steel gray locks and reading glasses perched on her nose, called the proceedings to order. This is a preliminary hearing in the case of the state of Georgia versus Denise Marie Thompson. The defendant is charged with multiple counts of child abuse, child endangerment, kidnapping, assault, financial exploitation, and we are informed that additional charges may be forthcoming, pending further investigation. How does the defendant plead? Denise's public defender, a tired-looking man in a rumpled suit, stood. Not guilty, Your Honor, on all counts. Marcus felt rage burning in his chest. Not guilty. After everything she had done, after the journals, after the bruises, after she had tried to drive MJ off a bridge, she was pleading not guilty. Vanessa Price rose from the prosecution table. Your Honor, the state requests that the defendant be held without bail pending trial. Ms. Thompson represents a significant flight risk and a continued danger to the victims. She attempted to flee with an infant after becoming aware of the investigation. She sent threatening messages indicating intent to harm the child. And we have evidence suggesting a pattern of premeditated violence dating back years. The public defender objected. Your Honor, my client has deep roots in this community. She has no prior criminal record. She was a caregiver for her sister's children for nearly 2 years, a role she took on out of love and family obligation. The prosecution's characterization of events is heavily influenced by the unverified claims of a traumatized child. Zoe stiffened beside Marcus. He's calling me a liar, she whispered. No, baby, he's doing his job, but we have the truth on our side. The judge looked at the public defender with barely concealed skepticism. Counselor, the defendant was apprehended on a bridge after sending text messages threatening to drive her vehicle into the water with an infant inside. She fled from police custody, crashed through a barricade, and was found in possession of significant evidence of financial fraud. I'm inclined to agree with the prosecution's assessment. Your Honor, my client was in a state of extreme emotional distress. She was not in her right mind. She needs psychiatric evaluation and treatment, not incarceration. Vanessa Price spoke up again. The state has no objection to a psychiatric evaluation, Your Honor. In fact, we welcome it. But Ms. Thompson should remain in custody while that evaluation takes place. She has demonstrated that she is willing to use children as bargaining chips in her personal vendetta. We cannot risk her having access to the victims or any other children. The judge nodded. Bail is denied. The defendant will be remanded to custody pending trial. A psychiatric evaluation will be ordered. Trial date is set for 6 weeks from today. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel came down. Officers moved forward to escort Denise out of the courtroom. As she passed the gallery where Marcus and Zoe sat, Denise stopped. The officers tried to move her along, but she planted her feet. Marcus. He didn't respond. Marcus, please, look at me. Against his better judgment, he met her eyes. I'm sorry, Denise said. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I never meant for any of this to happen. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to belong somewhere. Marcus felt his hands shaking with rage. You tortured my daughter for 2 years. You stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from my family. You kidnapped my son and threatened to kill him. And you may have helped my wife die faster. Don't you dare stand there and tell me you're sorry. Denise's face crumpled. I loved Keisha. I did. I know it doesn't look that way, but she was my sister. I loved her. You wrote in your journals that you prayed for her death. You wrote that you watched her suffer and felt good about it. That's not love. That's hatred. That's evil. The officers pulled Denise toward the exit. She stumbled, her eyes never leaving Marcus's face. I'm not evil. I'm just broken. I've always been broken. And nobody ever cared enough to help me. The courtroom doors closed behind her, and she was gone. Zoe was trembling. She said she loved Mama. How can she say that? How can she say she loved Mama when she did all those terrible things? Marcus pulled his daughter close. Some people don't know what love is, baby. They think love means getting what they want. They think love means being the center of attention. But real love is sacrifice. Real love is putting someone else's needs before your own. Aunt Denise never learned that. She never understood. David put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Let's get out of here. You both need some air. They walked out of the courthouse into the bright Georgia sunshine. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Marcus shielded Zoe with his body and kept walking until they reached David's car. Inside, with the doors closed and the tinted windows blocking the outside world, Marcus finally let himself breathe. 6 weeks until the trial. 6 more weeks of this. David started the engine. It'll go fast, and when it's over you can start rebuilding, start fresh. How do I rebuild when I don't even know who I am anymore? I spent 2 years thinking I was a good father, a good provider, a man who had his life together. And the whole time my children were suffering, my wife's killer was living in my house, and I was too blind to see any of it. You're not the same man you were 2 years ago. You've changed. You're present now. You're fighting for your children. That's what matters. Zoe spoke up from the back seat. Daddy, can we go visit Mama? I want to tell her what happened today. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. Of course, baby. Of course we can. They drove to the cemetery in silence. Keisha was buried under a beautiful oak tree, her headstone simple and elegant, just the way she would have wanted. Zoe knelt beside the grave and placed her hand on the cold stone. Hi, Mama. It's me, Zoe. I know you can hear me because Daddy says you're always watching over us. Marcus stood back, giving his daughter space. A lot has happened since the last time I came here. Bad things happened, Mama, but also good things. Aunt Denise can't hurt us anymore. She's going to jail, and Daddy is here now. He's really here. Not just his body, but his heart too. He holds me every night and reads me stories and makes us pancakes on Saturday mornings, just like you used to. Zoe's voice caught. I miss you so much, Mama. Every single day. Sometimes I forget what your voice sounded like and it scares me. I don't want to forget you. I don't ever want to forget. Marcus couldn't stay back any longer. He knelt beside his daughter and pulled her into his arms. You'll never forget her, baby. I promise. We'll keep her alive in our hearts, in our memories, in the stories we tell MJ when he's old enough to understand. Mama is part of us. She always will be. They stayed at the grave for a long time, talking to Keisha, sharing memories, crying and laughing together. When they finally left, Zoe seemed lighter somehow, like a burden had been lifted. The weeks leading up to the trial were intense. Marcus met with Vanessa Price almost every day, reviewing evidence, preparing for testimony, anticipating the defense's strategies. Zoe worked with a child psychologist who specialized in helping young victims testify in court. She practiced telling her story over and over until the words came easily, until the memories no longer made her freeze. And then, 3 days before the trial was set to begin, Detective Mitchell called with news that changed everything. Mr. Williams, We got the results back from the medical examiner. We reviewed your wife's medical records, consulted with oncology experts, and analyzed tissue samples from the exhumation. Marcus's heart stopped. And there were elevated levels of certain medications in your wife's system at the time of death. Levels that were inconsistent with her prescribed dosages. The medical examiner is prepared to testify that these elevated levels likely accelerated her decline. Marcus sat down heavily. You're saying Denise poisoned her. You're saying she murdered my wife. We're saying there's sufficient evidence to file additional charges. Criminally negligent homicide. Potentially second-degree murder depending on how the prosecution wants to proceed. Second-degree murder. That's life in prison. If convicted, yes. But Mr. Williams, I have to warn you, this is going to make the trial much more complicated. The defense will fight these charges aggressively. They'll challenge the medical evidence, question the chain of custody, bring in their own experts. It's going to be a battle. I don't care. Whatever it takes. She killed my wife. She deserves to pay for that. The prosecution agrees. Vanessa Price is adding the charges today. But Mr. Williams, there's something else you need to know. Marcus braced himself. What? Denise Thompson's psychiatric evaluation came back. She's been diagnosed with severe narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. Her lawyers are going to use this to argue diminished capacity. They're going to say she wasn't fully responsible for her actions. That's insane. She knew exactly what she was doing. Those journals prove it. She planned everything. She calculated everything. She's not crazy, she's evil. I agree with you. But the jury will have to decide. And mental health defenses can be persuasive, especially when the defendant presents as sympathetic. Marcus thought about Denise in the courtroom, crying, saying she just wanted to be loved. She was good at making people feel sorry for her. She had fooled him for years. What do? We prepare. We make sure the prosecution has every piece of evidence, every witness, every document they need. We make sure the jury sees the real Denise Thompson, not the victim she pretends to be. The trial began on a Tuesday morning. The courtroom was packed. Marcus sat in the front row of the gallery, Zoe beside him, David on her other side. Behind them sat Mrs. Patterson, the teacher who had first noticed Zoe's distress, and several of Keisha's friends who had come to support the family. Denise was brought in wearing a modest dress instead of the orange jumpsuit her hair styled her face composed. She looked almost normal, almost sympathetic. Vanessa Price's opening statement was powerful. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about a woman who saw something she wanted and was willing to destroy anyone who stood in her way. Denise Thompson wanted her sister's life. She wanted her sister's husband, her sister's children, her sister's home, her sister's money. And when she couldn't get those things through normal means, she took them by force. She abused her sister's children for 2 years, leaving bruises that will take much longer to heal. She stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from a grieving widower who trusted her. She kidnapped an infant and threatened to kill him when her crimes were about to be exposed. And most devastating of all, she may have hastened her own sister's death, using her position as caregiver to administer medications that accelerated the cancer's deadly course. Denise sat motionless at the defense table, her face betraying nothing. You will hear testimony from the victims themselves. You will hear from a 7-year-old girl who was beaten, starved, and terrorized in her own home. You will see photographs of bruises on a child's body. You will read journal entries in the defendant's own handwriting that reveal a mind consumed by jealousy, hatred, and obsession. And you will hear from medical experts who will explain how the defendant's actions likely shortened her sister's life by weeks, if not months. Vanessa Price paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the courtroom. By the end of this trial, you will have no doubt that Denise Thompson is guilty of the crimes she has been charged with. And you will have no choice but to hold her accountable for the devastating harm she has caused. The defense attorney, a new one this time, a sharp-faced woman named Rebecca Morrison, who specialized in high-profile criminal cases, rose for her opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution wants you to see my client as a monster. They want you to believe she is capable of unspeakable evil. But the truth is much more complicated. Denise Thompson is a woman who has struggled with mental illness her entire life. She has been diagnosed with severe personality disorders that affected her judgment, her impulse control, her ability to understand the consequences of her actions. She is not evil, she is sick. And in our society, we do not punish people for being sick. Marcus clenched his fists so hard his nails dug into his palms. Did Denise Thompson make mistakes? Yes. Did she handle her responsibilities poorly? Yes. But was she fully in control of her actions? The evidence will show that she was not. My client has lived her entire life in her sister's shadow. She was neglected by parents who favored her sibling. She was overlooked by society, by employers, by men who should have seen her value. Is it any wonder that she developed coping mechanisms that were unhealthy? Is it any wonder that she lashed out when she felt unappreciated? Rebecca Morrison walked toward the jury box. The prosecution will parade victims before you and ask you to be angry. But I ask you to look deeper. I ask you to see the human being behind the accusations. Denise Thompson needs help, not punishment. She needs treatment, not a prison cell. At the end of this trial, I am confident you will find that my client, while perhaps guilty of poor judgment, is not guilty of the heinous crimes the prosecution has described. The trial proceeded with witness after witness, painting a damning picture of Denise Thompson. Mrs. Patterson testified about Zoe's behavioral changes over the past year, about the weight loss, about the flinching whenever an adult moved too quickly, about the day she found Zoe hiding in the bathroom, begging not to go home. The hospice nurse who had cared for Keisha testified about unusual medication logs, about doses that seemed higher than prescribed, about Denise insisting on being the only one to administer certain medications. A forensic accountant testified about the $300,000 Denise had stolen, about the forged checks, about the unauthorized credit cards, about the second mortgage on the house that Marcus had never signed. And then it was Zoe's turn. Marcus walked his daughter to the witness stand. She looked so small sitting there, her feet barely touching the floor, her hands folded in her lap. "Remember," he whispered. "Just tell the truth. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." Zoe nodded and straightened her spine. Vanessa Price approached gently. "Zoe, can you tell the court your full name and how old you are?" "My name is Zoe Marie Williams. I'm 7 years old." "And who do you live with?" "My daddy and my baby brother MJ." "Did someone else used to live with you?" "Yes, Aunt Denise. She moved in after Mama died." "Can you tell us what Aunt Denise was like when she first moved in?" Zoe thought about it. "At first, she was nice. She made us food and helped with homework and tucked me in at night. But then Mama died, and everything changed." "What changed, Zoe?" "Aunt Denise got mean. She yelled all the time. She said I was bad. She said I was ungrateful. She said I killed Mama by being so needy." "Did Aunt Denise ever hurt you physically?" Zoe's voice dropped to a whisper. "Yes." "Can you tell us about that?" "She hit me. When I did things wrong. When I didn't clean my room fast enough. When MJ cried too much and I couldn't make him stop. She would grab my arms and squeeze really hard. She would slap me. Sometimes she would push me against the wall." "How often did this happen?" "Almost every day, sometimes more than once a day." "Did you tell anyone?" "No. She said if I told she would hurt MJ. She said nobody would believe me anyway. She said I was just a lying little girl who made up stories." "Were you lying, Zoe?" Zoe looked directly at the jury. "No, I never lied. Everything I said is true. Aunt Denise hurt me. She hurt MJ. And I think she hurt Mama too." Rebecca Morrison rose for cross-examination. "Zoe, you loved your mother very much, didn't you?" "Yes." "And when she died, you were very sad?" "Yes." "Isn't it possible that you were so sad, so angry about your mother's death that you blamed the person who was closest to you? Isn't it possible that you misremember things because of how much you were hurting? Zoe's eyes flashed. I didn't misremember anything. I know what happened. Aunt Denise hit me. She locked me in my room. She didn't let me eat dinner. Those things really happened. I have scars. I have memories. I'm not making anything up. But you were only 5 when your mother died. 5-year-olds don't always remember things accurately. I'm 7 now, and I remember everything. I remember crying for Mama and Aunt Denise telling me to shut up. I remember being so hungry I ate paper from my notebook. I remember hearing MJ scream and not being able to help him because my door was locked. I remember all of it, and I will remember it forever. The courtroom was silent. Rebecca Morrison tried another approach. Zoe, your father wasn't home very much after your mother died, was he? No. He worked a lot. So Aunt Denise was the one taking care of you most of the time? Yes. Don't you think it's possible she was just overwhelmed, that she was doing her best in a very difficult situation? Zoe stared at the defense attorney. No, because hitting a child is not doing your best. Starving a child is not doing your best. Scaring a child so much she hides in a bathroom and begs not to go home is not doing your best. Aunt Denise wasn't overwhelmed. She was mean. She enjoyed hurting us. I could see it in her eyes. Rebecca Morrison had no more questions. When Zoe stepped down from the witness stand, Marcus wrapped her in his arms and held her while she cried. You did so good, baby. So good. I'm so proud of you. The trial continued for another week. More witnesses. More evidence. More devastating revelations about the depth of Denise's deception and cruelty. And then on the final day, something unexpected happened. Denise asked to take the stand. Rebecca Morrison tried to talk her out of it. The prosecution would destroy her on cross-examination. But Denise insisted. She walked to the witness stand with her head held high, looking almost serene. Miss Thompson. Rebecca Morrison began. Can you tell the jury in your own words what happened? Denise took a deep breath. I know what everyone thinks of me. I know they see a monster. But I want them to understand how I got here. I want them to know the truth. She looked at Marcus, then at Zoe, then at the jury. I loved my sister. I know it doesn't look that way, but I did. She was my big sister, my protector, my best friend when we were children. But somewhere along the way, everything changed. She got everything I wanted, our parents' attention, academic success, a loving husband, beautiful children, and I got nothing. I got overlooked, ignored, forgotten. Denise's voice cracked. When Keisha got sick, I thought finally I can help. Finally I can be important. I moved into her house and took care of her family. I did everything I could to be useful, to be needed, to be loved. But it was never enough. Marcus looked right through me. The children resented me for not being their mother. And Keisha, even dying, she was still the center of everything. She wiped tears from her eyes. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I took out my frustration on the children when I should have gotten help. I took money because I felt I deserved compensation for everything I sacrificed. And with Keisha, I don't even know how to explain it. I watched her suffer, and part of me was glad. Part of me thought now she knows how I've felt my whole life. Now she understands what it's like to want something and not get it. The courtroom was utterly silent. But I didn't kill her. I swear to God I didn't kill her. I may have been careless with medication dosages. I may have delayed calling the doctor when I should have called sooner. But I never intentionally tried to end her life. She was my sister, my blood. Whatever I did not murder her. Vanessa Price rose for cross-examination. Miss Thompson, you wrote in your journals that you prayed for your sister to die. Is that true? Denise hesitated. I wrote a lot of things in those journals, things I didn't mean, things that came from a dark place. You wrote that you gave your sister extra medication to make her sleep so you wouldn't have to listen to her complaints. Is that true? I may have given her an extra dose once or twice, to help her rest, to ease her pain, not to harm her. You wrote that you watched her suffer for an hour without calling for help. Is that true? I don't remember that. Maybe. I was under so much stress. You wrote that you were helping her reach the inevitable end a little faster. Your words. Is that true? Denise's composure finally cracked. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote those things. I was exhausted and angry and lonely, and I didn't know what I was doing half the time, but I am not a murderer. Vanessa Price stepped closer. Miss Thompson, you kidnapped an 18-month-old child and threatened to drive him off a bridge. That is attempted murder. Do you deny that? I wasn't going to do it. I was just scared. I was panicking. I would never have actually hurt MJ. I love him. He's my nephew. He's Keisha's son. You wrote in your text messages that you were going to drive off the bridge and take the baby with you. Those are your words, Miss Thompson, not mine. I was out of my mind. I had just found out they were coming for me. I didn't know what to do. I just drove. I didn't have a plan. I was just trying to escape. Escape justice, you mean? Denise broke down completely, sobbing on the witness stand. I know I've done terrible things. I know I deserve punishment. But please believe me when I say I love those children. I loved them the only way I knew how. I just didn't know how to love properly. Nobody ever taught me. Nobody ever showed me what real love looks like. Marcus watched his sister-in-law fall apart, and he felt nothing. No sympathy. No pity. Just a cold certainty that justice would be served. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the courtroom was packed to capacity. Marcus sat with Zoe on one side and David on the other. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The foreman stood. In the case of the state of Georgia versus Denise Marie Thompson, on the count of child abuse in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Zoe gripped Marcus's hand. On the count of child endangerment, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of kidnapping, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of aggravated assault, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of financial exploitation, we find the defendant guilty. Each word was a hammer blow. Each verdict was a small piece of justice. On the count of criminally negligent homicide in the death of Keisha Williams, we find the defendant guilty. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. Keisha. They had found justice for Keisha. Denise collapsed at the defense table, wailing. The judge called for order. Sentencing will take place in 2 weeks. The defendant is remanded to custody. This court is adjourned. Marcus stood and lifted Zoe into his arms. It's over, baby. It's finally over. Zoe buried her face in his neck. Did we win, Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. We won. They walked out of the courtroom together, past the reporters and cameras, past the crowds who had watched their family's darkest moments become public spectacle. And for the first time in 2 years, Marcus felt something he had almost forgotten was possible. Hope. 2 weeks after the verdict, Marcus stood in the same courtroom where his family's darkest secrets had been exposed to the world. Zoe sat beside him, her hand in his, her eyes fixed on the empty defendant's chair. David Carter was on her other side, a steady presence that had become essential to their survival. The gallery was packed again. Reporters filled the back rows, notebooks, ready cameras positioned outside. This was the sentencing hearing. The final chapter of Denise Thompson's crimes. When Denise was brought in, Marcus noticed she had aged. The weeks since the verdict had carved new lines into her face. Her eyes were hollow. Her movements were slow and mechanical. She looked like a woman who had already given up. The judge took her seat and called the court to order. Before I announce the sentence, I will hear victim impact statements. Mr. Williams, you may proceed. Marcus stood on legs that felt like water. He had written and rewritten his statement a dozen times, had practiced it in front of the mirror, had cried through it more times than he could count. But now, standing before the court, before the woman who had destroyed his family, the prepared words seemed inadequate. He spoke from the heart instead. Your Honor, I don't have the words to describe what Denise Thompson did to my family. She took everything from us. She took my wife's final months and poisoned them with her hatred. She took my children's innocence and replaced it with fear. She took my trust and used it as a weapon. His voice cracked, but he pushed through. My daughter Zoe is 7 years old. She should be worried about homework and playground games and what she wants for her birthday. Instead, she has nightmares. She flinches when I raise my hand too quickly. She checks the locks on every door before she can sleep. She asks me every night if Aunt Denise is really in jail, if she's really never coming back. Marcus looked directly at Denise. You told her she killed her mother. You told a 5-year-old child that her mama died because of her. Do you have any idea what that does to a child's soul? Do you have any concept of the damage you caused? Denise wouldn't meet his eyes. My son MJ doesn't remember what you did to him. He's too young. But I will carry those memories for him. I will carry the image of his face in that car seat crying, terrified, while you threatened to drive him off a bridge. I will carry the knowledge that you shook him when he cried, that you neglected him, that you treated an innocent baby like an inconvenience to be managed. Marcus's hands were shaking. And Keisha, my wife, the love of my life, the mother of my children. You sat by her bedside while she was dying, and you made it worse. You gave her extra medication to make her sleep so you wouldn't have to hear her complaints. You delayed calling the doctor when she needed help. You watched her suffer, and you felt satisfied. His voice broke completely. She trusted you. We all trusted you. You were family. And you used that trust to destroy us from the inside. He took a deep breath. I don't believe in vengeance. My wife didn't believe in vengeance, but I do believe in justice. I believe that actions have consequences, and I believe that Denise Thompson should spend the rest of her life paying for what she did to my family. He sat down. Zoe immediately climbed into his lap and wrapped her arms around his neck. You did good, Daddy, she whispered. The judge looked at the victim impact statement form. Zoe Williams has prepared a statement as well. Zoe, would you like to read it, or would you like me to read it for you? Zoe looked at Marcus. He nodded. I can do it. She walked to the front of the courtroom, a piece of paper clutched in her small hands. She looked so tiny standing there, but her voice was clear and strong. My name is Zoe Williams. I am 7 years old. Aunt Denise hurt me for 2 years. She hit me. She locked me in my room. She didn't let me eat dinner. She told me my mama died because of me. She told me nobody would ever love me. She told me I was a burden and a problem and a mistake. Zoe looked up from her paper. For a long time I believed her. I thought I was bad. I thought I deserved to be hurt. I thought if I was just quieter, just better, just more invisible, she would stop being mean. But it never worked. No matter how good I tried to be, she always found a reason to hurt me. Her voice wavered, but she kept going. I used to pray every night that someone would save me. I prayed that Mama would come back from heaven and make Aunt Denise go away. I prayed that Daddy would come home early and see what was happening. I prayed and prayed, but nothing changed. Tears were streaming down her face now. Then one day Mr. David found me in the bathroom at school. I was hiding because I didn't want to go home. He asked me what was wrong, and I told him. I was so scared to tell, but I did it anyway, and everything changed. She looked at David Carter, who was wiping his own eyes. I learned that telling the truth is important, even when it's scary. I learned that there are good people in the world who will help you if you ask. I learned that I'm not bad. I never was. Aunt Denise was the one who was bad. She was the one who was wrong. Zoe turned to face Denise directly. You hurt me. You hurt my brother. You hurt my mama. And now you have to pay for it. I'm not scared of you anymore. I'm strong now, and I'm going to be okay. Because I have my daddy and my brother and Mr. David and Mrs. Patterson and lots of people who love me. You don't have anyone, and that's your punishment too. She walked back to her seat with her head held high. Marcus had never been more proud of anyone in his life. The judge took a moment to compose herself before speaking. Miss Thompson, do you have anything you wish to say before I announce the sentence? Denise stood slowly. Her attorney tried to guide her, but she shook off his hand. I know nothing I say will change what happens today. I know nothing I say will make anyone believe I'm sorry. But I am. I'm sorry for everything." She looked at Marcus and Zoe. "I'm sorry for hurting your children. I'm sorry for taking your money. I'm sorry for the things I wrote in those journals, the dark thoughts I never should have put on paper. And I'm sorry for Keisha, my sister, my blood. I'm sorry I couldn't just love her without jealousy. I'm sorry I let my pain turn into her suffering." Her voice was barely a whisper now. "I know I deserve whatever punishment you give me. I'm not asking for mercy. I'm just asking that someday, somehow, those children can forget about me. I'm asking that they can grow up without the weight of what I did dragging them down. I'm asking for that not for me, but for them." She sat down. The courtroom was silent. The judge shuffled papers, then looked up with eyes that were hard and unforgiving. "Denise Marie Thompson, you have been convicted of multiple counts of child abuse, child endangerment, kidnapping, aggravated assault, financial exploitation, and criminally negligent homicide. These crimes represent a systematic pattern of cruelty, manipulation, and violence against the most vulnerable victims, imaginable children and a dying woman who trusted you with their care." She paused. "I have presided over many cases in my career. I have seen terrible things done by terrible people. But I have rarely seen such calculated, sustained cruelty hidden behind a mask of family devotion. You did not snap. You did not make a momentary mistake. You deliberately and methodically tormented your sister's children for years while stealing from their father and hastening their mother's death." The judge's voice hardened. "For the crime of child abuse in the first degree, I sentence you to 15 years in state prison. For the crime of child endangerment, I sentence you to 10 years to run consecutively. For the crime of kidnapping, I sentence you to 20 years to run consecutively. For the crime of aggravated assault, I sentence you to 5 years to run consecutively. For the crime of financial exploitation, I sentence you to 8 years to run consecutively. And for the crime of criminally negligent homicide in the death of Keisha Williams, I sentence you to 15 years to run consecutively." Marcus did the math in his head. 73 years. Denise would die in prison. The total sentence is 73 years in state prison. Given your age and the nature of these crimes, you will likely spend the rest of your natural life behind bars. I hope that time gives you the opportunity to reflect on the devastation you have caused, but I doubt anything can truly repair the damage you have done. The gavel came down. Court is adjourned. Officers moved forward to take Denise away. She didn't resist. She didn't cry. She just walked head down, shoulders slumped toward the door that would lead her to a lifetime of imprisonment. Just before she disappeared, she turned back one last time and looked at Zoe. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. Zoe didn't respond. She just turned away and buried her face in her father's chest. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining. Marcus stood on the steps with Zoe in his arms, and David beside him, surrounded by reporters shouting questions. "Mr. Williams, how do you feel about the sentence? Mr. Williams, what's next for your family? Mr. Williams, do you have any comment on Denise Thompson's apology?" Marcus held up his hand for silence. "I have a brief statement. My family has been through hell. We have faced abuse, betrayal, and loss that no family should ever have to endure. But we have also found something precious in the midst of that darkness. We have found strength. We have found love. And we have found the courage to tell the truth, no matter how scary it was." He looked down at Zoe. "My daughter is the bravest person I know. She stood up to her abuser. She testified in court at 7 years old. She never backed down, never gave up, never stopped fighting for herself and her brother. I am more proud of her than I have ever been of anyone." Zoe smiled up at him, a real smile that reached her eyes. "As for Denise Thompson's apology, I have nothing to say about that. Apologies are easy. Actions are what matter. And her actions caused irreparable harm to my family. I hope she spends the rest of her life reflecting on that. He started to walk away, then turned back. I do have one more thing to say. To anyone out there who is suffering in silence, who is being hurt by someone they trust, who is afraid to speak up because they think no one will believe them, you are not alone. Your voice matters. Your pain matters. And there are people who will help you if you ask. Don't give up. Don't stay silent. Tell someone. Because telling the truth, even when it's terrifying, is the first step toward freedom. He walked to David's car, Zoe still in his arms, and left the courthouse behind. 3 years passed. The house on Maple Street was smaller than the mansion where Denise had tormented them, but it was filled with light and laughter and love. Marcus had painted the walls bright colors that Zoe picked out herself. He had hung Keisha's photos in every room so the children would never forget her face, her smile, the warmth she had brought to their family. He worked from home now, consulting for tech startups, advising entrepreneurs building something new without sacrificing time with his children. He was at every school event, every doctor's appointment, every bedtime story. He had promised Zoe he would never leave again, and he had kept that promise. MJ was 4 years old, round-cheeked, and bright-eyed, with no memory of the aunt who had shaken him when he cried or threatened to drive him off a bridge. He knew only that his daddy loved him, his sister protected him, and somewhere in heaven, his mama was watching over them all. Zoe was 10 now, tall for her age, with Keisha's eyes, and Marcus's stubborn determination. She still had nightmares sometimes. She still flinched occasionally when someone moved too fast. But she was healing. Slowly, steadily, day by day, she was becoming the person she was always meant to be. She painted constantly, filling canvas after canvas with bright colors and hopeful images. Gardens full of flowers, families holding hands, angels with brown skin and beautiful smiles watching over sleeping children. Her therapist said it was her way of processing trauma, of creating beauty out of pain. Marcus hung every painting on the walls. David Carter had become family. He came for dinner every Sunday, brought his daughter Amara to play with Zoe. Helped Marcus navigate the complicated journey of single fatherhood. When Marcus doubted himself, David was there to remind him of how far he had come. When the nightmares got bad, David was there to talk him through. Mrs. Patterson had retired from teaching, but she still called Zoe every month to check in. She had become a fierce advocate for child abuse awareness, speaking at schools and community centers about the signs of abuse and the importance of believing children when they speak up. And Detective Angela Mitchell had been promoted to captain, thanks in part to her work on the Williams case. She had started a specialized unit focused on crimes against children, and she had made it her mission to ensure that no child would ever suffer the way Zoe had suffered. One October evening, Marcus was making pancakes for dinner. Zoe's favorite, when she came into the kitchen with a piece of paper in her hand. "Daddy, my teacher wants us to write about a hero, someone who changed our lives. Can you help me decide who to write about?" Marcus flipped a pancake and smiled. "Who are you thinking?" "I don't know. There are so many people. Mr. David, who found me in the bathroom. Mrs. Patterson, who believed me when I told her. Detective Mitchell, who found MJ on the bridge. You for never giving up on us." "Those are all good choices." Zoe was quiet for a moment. "I think I want to write about you, Daddy. And Mr. David. Both of you together. Both of us. Why?" "Because you saved me in different ways. Mr. David saved me when I was in danger. He asked the right question at the right time. But you saved me after. You chose us over work. You stayed home. You held me when I had nightmares. You never made me feel like I was a burden." Marcus turned off the stove and knelt down to look at his daughter. "You were never a burden, Zoe. Not for 1 second. You are the greatest gift your mother and I ever received. You and your brother are the reason I get up every morning, the reason I keep going, the reason I believe in tomorrow." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "I know, Daddy. I know that now. But for a long time I didn't. For a long time I believed what Aunt Denise said. I believed I was bad. I believed I didn't deserve to be loved. It took a long time to stop believing those lies. And now I know the truth. I know I'm loved. I know I'm wanted. I know I'm safe. Marcus pulled her into a hug. That's all I ever wanted for you, baby. That's all your mother ever wanted. For you to know deep in your bones that you are loved beyond measure. MJ came running into the kitchen toy trucks in both hands, making engine noises at the top of his lungs. Daddy, Zoe. Look at my trucks. They're racing. Zoe laughed and scooped up her little brother. They're so fast. MJ, who's winning? The red one. The red one always wins. Marcus watched his children, his heart so full it hurt. This was what Keisha had wanted. This was what she had dreamed of before cancer stole her away. A family full of love, children who felt safe, a husband who was present, truly present for every moment. He had failed her once. He had let work consume him while Denise poisoned their home. But he would not fail again. Every day for the rest of his life, he would choose his children. He would choose love. He would choose presence over productivity, connection over success. Later that night, after the pancakes were eaten and the dishes were washed and MJ was tucked into bed, Marcus and Zoe sat on the back porch watching fireflies dance in the darkness. Daddy? Yes, baby. Do you think Mama can see us from heaven? Marcus looked up at the stars. I know she can. I feel her every day. In the way the sun comes through your bedroom window in the morning. In the sound of MJ's laughter. In the smell of those flowers she used to love in the garden. She's everywhere, Zoe. She never left us. Zoe leaned against him. Sometimes I talk to her, before I go to sleep. I tell her about my day, about school, about my paintings. Do you think she hears me? I know she does, and I know she's proud of you. So proud, Zoe. You survived something terrible. You fought back. You told the truth when it was the scariest thing in the world. That takes more courage than most adults ever have to show. I was scared, Daddy. I was so scared. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. Being brave means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. And you did. You saved yourself. You saved your brother. You saved our whole family. Zoe was quiet for a long time. Daddy, what happened to Aunt Denise? Is she still in jail? Marcus hesitated. He didn't like to talk about Denise, didn't like to give her space in their new life. Yes, baby, she's still in jail. She'll be there for a very long time. Good. Marcus looked at his daughter. Does it feel good knowing she's being punished? Zoe thought about it. Not good exactly, more like safe. Like as long as she's in jail, she can't hurt anyone else. She can't find another family to break. That makes me feel safe. That's a healthy way to think about it. My therapist helped me understand. She said it's okay to be glad that bad people face consequences. It's not the same as wanting revenge. It's just wanting the world to be fair. Marcus marveled at how much his daughter had grown. At 7, she had been a broken, terrified child who flinched at shadows. At 10, she was wise beyond her years, thoughtful, compassionate, strong. You know what, Zoe? I think you're going to do amazing things when you grow up. I think you're going to help a lot of people. I want to be a lawyer, like Mrs. Price. I want to put bad people in jail and protect kids who can't protect themselves. That's a wonderful dream, and I know you can do it. Zoe smiled. Mama wanted to be a teacher. Did you know that before she became an accountant, she told me once that she wanted to help kids learn? But then life happened, and she had to make money, and she never got to follow that dream. I didn't know that, but it sounds like her. She always cared about children. I think that's why it made her so sad at the end, knowing she was going to leave us, knowing she wouldn't get to see us grow up. I remember her crying sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking, crying and holding my hand and saying she was sorry. Marcus felt tears welling up. She loved you so much, Zoe. More than anything in the world. I know. I know that now. And I'm going to make her proud. I'm going to grow up and do all the things she couldn't do. I'm going to live for both of us." They sat in silence, watching the fireflies, feeling Keisha's presence in the warm night air. The next morning, Marcus drove Zoe to school. She clutched her hero essay in her hand, excitement and nervousness mixing on her face. "What if the other kids think it's weird that I wrote about my dad and Mr. David instead of someone famous? The best heroes aren't famous. The best heroes are ordinary people who do extraordinary things when it matters most. Mr. David was just a father picking up his daughter from school, but he listened when you needed someone to listen. That's what real heroism looks like." Zoe nodded. "And you? Daddy, what makes you a hero?" Marcus parked the car and turned to face his daughter. "I'm not a hero, baby. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't there when you needed me. I left you alone with someone who hurt you. But you came back. When Mr. David called, you came. You left your meeting. You believed me. You fought for us. That's what heroes do. They make mistakes, but they don't give up. They keep trying. They keep loving. They keep showing up." Marcus felt tears threatening to spill. "When did you get so wise?" Zoe grinned. "I learned from watching you." She leaned over and kissed his cheek, then grabbed her backpack and opened the car door. "Bye, Daddy. I love you." "I love you too, baby. Have a great day." He watched her run toward the school entrance where Amara was waiting for her. The two girls hugged and walked inside together, chattering about something that made them both laugh. Marcus sat in his car for a long moment, thinking about everything that had brought them to this point. The bruises on Zoe's arms. The terror in her voice when she begged not to go home. The journals full of hatred. The bridge. The trial. The sentencing. And now this. A ordinary Tuesday morning. Dropping his daughter off at school. Watching her run toward her best friend. Seeing her smile. This was what healing looked like. Not a dramatic moment. Not a sudden transformation. Just ordinary days, filled with small moments of joy. Just a family, learning to trust again, to love again, to live again. His phone buzzed. A text from David. "Coffee. I'm at the usual place." Marcus smiled and typed back. "On my way." He drove to the coffee shop where he and David met every Tuesday morning after drop-off. It had become a ritual, a touchstone, a way of maintaining the friendship that had grown out of the worst day of their lives. David was already at their usual table, 2 cups of coffee waiting. "How's Zoe?" "Amazing. She wrote an essay about heroes for school. She wrote about you and me." David looked surprised. "Me? I just asked a question." The right question, at the right time, to the right person. That's what made the difference. If you hadn't walked into that bathroom, if you hadn't listened, if you hadn't called me, Marcus couldn't finish. "Hey." David reached across the table and gripped his arm. "Don't go there. Don't think about what could have happened. Think about what did happen. Your kids are safe. They're healthy. They're happy. That's what matters." Marcus nodded. "I know. But sometimes I can't help it. Sometimes I wake up at 3 in the morning and I think about how close we came to losing everything. How one phone call, one stranger's instinct changed the course of our lives. That's not just chance. That's something bigger. Call it God, call it fate. Call it the universe looking out for your kids. But something put me in that school at that moment. Something made me follow my gut instead of going home. I believe that. I believe it too. Now." They sat in companionable silence, drinking their coffee, watching the morning traffic pass by. "So, what's next?" David asked. "You've been consulting for 2 years. Any thoughts about something bigger?" Marcus considered the question. "Actually, yes. I've been thinking about starting a foundation, something in Keisha's name, to help children who are being abused, to provide resources for families, to fund research into spotting the signs earlier. David's face lit up. That's a beautiful idea. Keisha would love that. I think so too. And I want Zoe to be involved when she's old enough. I want her to see that something good can come out of all this pain, that her suffering wasn't meaningless. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't. Look at how many people have been touched by your story. Look at how many parents have started paying closer attention to their kids. Look at how many teachers have been trained to spot the signs. Your family's tragedy has already saved lives. Marcus felt the truth of those words settle into his heart. Their pain had meaning. Their story had power. And they would use that power to protect other children, other families, other vulnerable souls who needed someone to listen to, believe, to fight for them. That evening, Marcus made dinner while Zoe did her homework at the kitchen table, and MJ played with blocks on the floor. The house was filled with ordinary sounds, the clink of dishes, the scratch of pencil on paper, the happy babbling of a 4-year-old building towers and knocking them down. Daddy. Yes, baby. My teacher loved my essay. She said it was the best one in the class. She said she wants to read it at the parent night next month. Marcus turned from the stove, his face breaking into a wide smile. That's wonderful, Zoe. I'm so proud of you. She said heroes come in all shapes and sizes. She said sometimes the biggest heroes are the ones who listen. Your teacher sounds very wise. She is. She reminds me of Mrs. Patterson. Marcus served dinner, and they sat together, the three of them, sharing food and conversation and laughter. MJ made a mess with his spaghetti. Zoe told stories about her day. And Marcus listened, really listened to every word. This was his life now. This was his purpose, not building companies or making millions, but building a family, making memories, being present. After dinner, Zoe helped with the dishes while MJ watched cartoons. Daddy, I have one more question. What is it? Do you think we'll ever be completely healed? Like totally okay? No more nightmares, no more scared feelings, no more sadness about Mama. Marcus dried his hands and knelt down to look at his daughter. I don't think healing means forgetting. I don't think healing means never feeling sad or scared again. I think healing means learning to live with those feelings, learning to carry them without being crushed by them. And I think we're already doing that, every day. Every moment we choose joy over fear, love over anger, hope over despair. That's healing. Zoe nodded slowly. So we're already healed, even though it still hurts sometimes. We're healing. It's a process, not a destination. And we're doing it together, as a family. Zoe threw her arms around him. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby, more than all the stars in the sky. Later that night, after both children were asleep, Marcus sat in his office and pulled out his laptop. He had been writing, documenting everything that had happened, everything they had been through. Not for publication, but for his children. For someday when they were grown and wanted to understand. He typed the final words. Love is not enough on its own. Love requires presence. Love requires attention. Love requires showing up every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I failed my children once by loving them from a distance, by providing for them without being there for them. But I learned. And every day now, I choose them. Every single day I choose them. That's what being a father means. Not perfection, but persistence. Not never failing, but never giving up. We are survivors, my children and I. We walked through fire and came out the other side, scarred but stronger, wounded but wiser, broken but beautiful. And we will never stop healing, never stop growing, never stop loving each other with everything we have. This is our story. This is our truth. And this is our promise to the future. We will not be defined by the darkness we endured. We will be defined by the light we create. He saved the document and closed the laptop. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new moments to navigate. But tonight his children were safe, sleeping peacefully, in rooms filled with love. And that was enough. This story reminds us that evil hides behind familiar faces, that children's voices must be heard, that one person's courage can change everything. David Carter listened when Zoe begged for help. Marcus Williams chose his children over pride. Together, they brought light into darkness. Where are you watching from? What moved you most in this journey? Remember, this love conquers all darkness when we act on it, when we show up, when we refuse to look away. Good is rewarded through courage. Evil is punished when brave souls refuse to stay silent. May every child find their voice, and may every voice find someone listening. Because in the end, the strongest force in the universe is not hatred or fear or cruelty. It is love showing up again and again and again.